Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on June 10th, 2022 at approximately 6:18 a.m. PST. Well, things are interesting as per usual. Got into a little bit of a different way of looking at things. Before I get into it, before I get started on this, I return to this world for one primary reason, and that is to remind everyone in existence that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, with that in mind, if you like the videos, give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel because there's a lot of things we're going to be covering. One of the biggest issues, I bill myself as a spiritual guide, and the reason for that is because the tools I offer are simply the tools I personally have worked with to take my life from the scrambled mess it was to the organized, semi-organized, focused life I've got now. The philosophies of life that I share with you are the same ones I personally live by. Okay, and I see a lot of discrepancy in that with regards to other people that have claimed to be guides. Now, the reality of it from that standpoint is this. Yeah, we're just adjusting things and not well, apparently. Oh, there we go. Anyway, the reality of it from my standpoint is this. If I'm going to tell you, here's a tool that works, if I'm not following it, there's a problem because I only follow 3 laws. But understand, these 3 laws, if you look at the ones you follow, these 3 laws, as near as I've been able to discover, will encompass all the ones you follow, whether they're legal, spiritual, parental, societal, support groups, it doesn't matter. If you find a law or a guideline that you live by that does not fit inside these 3, absolutely drop me a line. In the comments below or in one of the many ways of getting a hold of me. Okay. I'll be more than happy to do my best to get in touch with you. Okay. But the 3 laws I follow are the 3 karmic laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Now, those 3 laws are all as important as the next. There's not one that is more important than the other. It's kind of like the 3 legs in a 3-legged stool. If you don't have them all the same length with the same import, that stool is going to fall over the moment you put weight on it. Now, the only advantage I have over many of you is I only have 3 laws to memorize. That's it. Now, for those of you that are looking at this and looking at the religious side of it and saying, well, but we follow the laws of God. Check, if you're Christian and you don't believe this one, check the writing and check the Bible itself. In the first chapter, in the first 2 chapters, either Exodus 1 or Exodus 2, it tells you right there that when Moses brought down the first tablets, he was so upset with the people that he never even showed the tablets to Aaron. And he shattered them on the ground and went back up and got a second set. So the original laws were never seen. Okay. But, there's no way I can prove this, but I do know for an absolute certainty myself that the 3 karmic laws were the only laws that were there. And of course, mankind, and for that matter, all creatures with any form of life were given free will. Yeah, there are ones that were given lower, if you will, what humans consider intellectual understanding. So the reality is you have to take responsibility for your own actions, for your own life, because you're the only entity in existence that can decide whether or not they can make your life more successful. You're the one that has to do the work. Now, I can tell you all the tools in the world that I'm using. Okay. But right now, take a look at the material world. Because we're on the 10th here, we'll work with that. Okay. And before we get into that, absolutely, if you like the video, we already covered that, but we'll repeat it anyway. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. Tomorrow morning, I will be going live from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay, and I am going to be covering, I was looking at it, found my list. So I'm going to be covering the concept of healing. And here's the thing, with regards to that, okay, I found a very definitive link, and I will explain this much more in detail tomorrow. Tomorrow morning. But I found a very direct link between what drives people to be overweight or what drives people to be pack rats and hoarders. Okay, there is an absolute direct link. There's a common footing there. But we'll go into that in detail tomorrow. So absolutely, if you're interested in that, because there are ways to break both of those problems, given that the overweight side of it is not a biological complication. Things like problems with thyroid, problems with adrenal glands, problems with pituitary glands. If we're not talking a medically enhanced complication, all of it can be beat. And yes, I will reveal all of that tomorrow. Right now, let's take a look at the house, shall we? Okay. Now, I ran into an interesting snag yesterday, and I'm sure you've done this before. But I've been going through files and going, well, I'll sort that out later and put that in a box. Well, next thing I knew, yes, I'd removed 2 boxes worth of stuff, but I was back up and building up boxes of stuff I was going to have to do. So what I've done is turned around and said, okay, well, I'm not doing that anymore. I am just simply going to clear the stuff out of the way. Okay, I'm going to do it one step at a time, but the only way that works for me is if I put things in the way so that they are a pain in the neck. Well, I did the same thing this morning in my own bedroom because there's stuff that's got to go out to storage. So I took everything and stacked it up where I needed to, but the stuff that isn't going to storage, I put on my bed. Okay, needless to say, I'm going to have to go through it before I go to bed. I mean, sure, I can put it back on the floor, but that just gets to be boring. So, first thing that I did this morning when I got into the office here, because like I said, I set up a schedule for myself, right, where I will be in my own office starting at 8:30 in the morning. Well, I haven't gotten in. I'm not actually at 8:30 in the morning. I'm 2 hours ahead, but I do the journey at this time because what it does, it means I'm up and about. I've had time to talk to my other half, and then I get the journey recorded. Then I get to go off and do an errand that I have to at 7 o'clock, PST. Okay, so what I've done is I've organized my time so I can get things moving in the right direction. It's an interesting situation that I run into. But with that in mind, it really becomes an issue of going, okay, what am I going to do with it? Okay, so right now, let's start with the energy side of it. My office right now, what is this? Oh yes, that's financial stuff that I've got to deal with. Okay, so right now, my office desk is pretty much cleared. I've got a few things I've got to add to my list while I'm thinking about them that are part of getting the energy running in the office. Now, do understand, your office is the brain of both your house and your home. So, in order for it to work, what I've done is I've got the computer set up right here. Okay, and what I've done is I've cleared all the clutter off the way, and I am starting. Of course, like I mentioned before, I am working on my left hand to get the writing proper. which is problematic in as much as it doesn't work as smoothly as I would like. But this little thing here, yeah, I fiddle a lot, but I figure by doing this, I can actually get the hand working to a degree, get the fine motor control back up. But you get the energy in the office itself, in the heart of the brain. This is literally the backbone of it. Because I get this energy running right, the rest of it can be straightened out. The rest of the office can be cleared. And that's going to be the neat little challenge. Now, what I've come to find out, it's in some ways, and it turns out I may have done something really interesting by being a pack rat. Okay, and it's cluttered everything. So you can't see it. This box here is only the beginning. What I did, because of the fact that I was putting things in the boxes, I went, nope, scrap it. I'm going to put my painting on hold for a little bit. And I took all the papers that I collected up that I've got to go through, and they're all on my desk and on my other office chair right here. This stuff all has to be gone through. So what you'll see over the next couple of days is this stuff getting lower and disappearing. Because as I go through it, it's just going to be a question of one page at a time. Okay. And that's why I'm looking at this. Just another point on that side of it. Okay. This week, tomorrow, I will be discussing the healing techniques to clear up those little issues, the issues of the link between overweight, being overweight when it's not medically induced. Oh, by the way, the one I forgot, there are medications that'll do that to you. The medications you have to stay on until your doctor clears you and has done, because if they've already got you on medication, it can be more problematic ending it than if you stay on it. Okay, so from that standpoint, what I did was I took all the paperwork and put it over there, so I can start going through it one step at a time and really get carried away with the organizational side of it. Now, this neat little tool, I've shown you this before. This is the backbone to it. Okay. We have legally acquired a minimum of $3,800. I didn't do that yesterday. Must make a note of that right now. This is supposed to say, by June 31st of 2022 at 1 minute to midnight. Okay. The same as this one is supposed to say by June 31st, 2022 at 1 minute to midnight. This is for my business. Inner Enterprises has legally generated a minimum of $700 by May 31st, 2022 at 1 minute to midnight. But this $700, because this is a home-based business, that $700 is included in the household income. Now, of course, what I am doing here is just small little tasks that I have to deal with. By doing that, it will help me keep things stable. Now, for you, it'll help you keep them stable as well. I know this works because I've handed this same tool off to a staggering number of people that I've personally talked to and received feedback that it worked for them. The principle is simple. One step at a time. My dad used to say, you take care of the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. Now, there's an African proverb that basically says the same thing. It goes, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you clean up a disaster? One piece of paper at a time. Okay. Now, if your life is scrambled, here's one of the real key factors to being able to straighten it out. Okay, and it's a massive misconception that is being propagated around the world. as near as I've understood from the people I've talked to. And that around the world, it's real simple. People are taught that you have to have a goal in life in order to get ahead, in order to be successful. Well, two major factors there. One, you've got to figure out what you think, what you feel will make you successful. The second one is that you actually don't have to know where you're heading. You have to know where you are, right here, right now. Now, for instance, okay, I don't know exactly where I'm heading. Things are changing really fast for me. I just got shown a contract that I signed a decade ago. Okay. Well, the contract itself, there's no real problem with it except for the fact the piece of the article that it was written around is missing somewhere in my house. And, well, let's face it, there's a lot of reasons for that. But I've got to find that to be able to do anything with it. Now, as I've said, as I've told you many times, the only thing you've got in your life, the only thing at all, that nobody can ever take from you. They can coerce you into taking it. They can threaten you. They can, they can exert incredible stress on you to encourage you to give your word, but they cannot take it. And that is just the reality behind it. So, absolutely critical. If you're going to sign a contract, now this comes from way back when I wrote the contract in the first place. Quite frankly, it was a case of biting off more than I could chew. But that's beside the point. Okay, am I going to honor it as soon as I find the item I need? Yeah, but I'm going to have to send a letter to the individual and go, and quit postponing getting in touch with them or responding to them is more to the point. Because the reality is, I can't do anything about it until I find the thing. And at this point, I haven't really got any idea other than I don't remember ever throwing it out. But that's beside the point at this point. When you make a contract, okay, that is the only thing that you have to, and that you've given your word on something, follow it. Now, this is going to likely upset a number of people that call themselves Christians, and yes, I did put it that way for a reason. Okay, the one thing that people don't realize when they start talking about Satan, okay, everybody says Satan won't lie. Well, Satan didn't come here to lie. Satan came here to show you the importance of contractual obligation. Where if you're going to make a contract, yes, absolutely, make the contract that you would sign. In Satan's case, what he does, what she does, is turns around and goes, "Okay, here's a contract. I'm going to leave this little loophole." And if there is a loophole in a contract, yes, it is perfectly fine to capitalize on it. Okay, that's up to you. Okay, except for one little detail that you might want to remember. If you're looking at a contract where you spot a loophole, it is, from a karmic standpoint, right to point out, look, this is a loophole that can be capitalized on. That absolutely can be capitalized on. Now, from my standpoint, that's just the way I operate. So, will I point out a loophole that could be utilized on their end? In a manner of speaking, because if I'm looking at the contract and it's a loophole, yeah, I'll spot it. If I spot it, I'll point it out like I did when the one Hollywood company tried doing my life story. They sent me the contract and I spotted a crater in it. They wouldn't close the crater, so I went, no, I'm not signing the contract. And that's the whole catch to it. Okay, but if you're writing the contract, go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Sometimes, when you're looking at a contract, it's easier, or more effective rather, if you go through it backwards. Okay, now, I don't know about you, but most people don't read backwards very well. And I don't mean the writing being backwards. I mean, the sentences being backwards. So you go through it one paragraph at a time from the back of the contract just to double check it. Okay. Some people will call me paranoid, and they're more than welcome to it. I've been called a lot of things over the years. Some of them are actually repeatable in polite company. But when you start looking at contracts, okay, especially contracts with yourself, the moment you give your word, that is the time I come from originally. That's all you had was your word. Okay. And sadly, that has become it's kind of become an endangered species. Some of you will keep your word. Most of you, unfortunately, will clearly not. And the reason I say that, not intending to be insulting, although it probably comes across that way. So if what I tell you, what I'm saying, does not apply to you, absolutely don't take it on. Okay. But how many people have you run into where, where an estate, where the estate of somebody that's passed, of a loved one has passed, the loved one has put a will together and said, here's the way it gets laid out. How many people do you know that have taken a look at that and gone, I'm not happy with that, I'm going to contest the will? Now, legally, it's absolutely correct. The problem is that the person that you should be contesting it with is already dead. Okay. And for those of you that have lost somebody recently, my sincere condolences to you. Myself, I lost I didn't technically lose him. I know where he is. But my eldest brother passed away 3 months ago. Okay. So when you're looking at contracts, when you're looking at wills, whatever is written, do not argue the point. You don't have to like it. But if a will is written, do not take it to court. Short answer to that. I watched a person I knew personally, right? An individual I personally knew. When their father passed, it was a phenomenal estate. And the contract, the will literally said, it gets split, the estate gets split evenly, 4 ways. Okay. Now, to my way of thinking, there were four kids involved. Okay. There were 4 kids involved, and the father had amassed a phenomenal fortune, and we'll get to that in a second. But he said it gets split equally 4 ways. One of the siblings turned around and said, I'm not happy with that, I should get more. So he forced it into court. Well, what ended up happening in the long run was the entire estate, each kid was being handed $7 million. And because one child got greedy and forced it into the court system to contest the will, the entire $28 million went to the lawyers. Now, the lawyers had a heyday with it. Okay. And assuming the lawyers were being upfront and going, if I write this letter or if I contest this, these are the bills that you're getting charged. Every time I write a letter, here's the bill. Assuming the lawyers were being honest, the lawyers did exactly what their job said. This is what you're doing. Now, what motivated the lawsuit to carry on that far, I have no idea. But I'm warning you, contesting a will, the only people that win are the lawyers. Okay, on the whole, more often than not. Okay, so get clear in your head what you consider is success. Okay, for me, success is real simple. Get rid of all the clutter. Get this. Like, I've got this one contract that I've just been reminded of about 2 weeks ago now. And I've been admittedly avoiding it because I was looking for the item necessary. Today I'm going to write a letter to them and go, okay, here's the situation I'm facing. And I can't do anything about it until I find the book. But since I'm going through all the paperwork that I've got and I'm sorting through everything, I am absolutely looking for it. Because to me, it's a loose end. Very much like much as this number here, this 3,800 is what I was aiming at in May. Bear in mind, I only require 25 to make ends meet. Okay, but I made 31 last month. Now that means I was still 600 bucks over my cost of running my house, so I was still doing really well. But now I'm going to push it further. Okay, it really is. If you've been sitting on a project and not doing much with it, it's kind of important to really get focused on it, like me. Now, I've had my company I've had since 2007. Okay, and with that in mind, okay, I've basically been sitting around doing nothing with it because I've had a job. Okay, now this is where 2020 hindsight comes in. If you've been sitting on a project that you've been doing nothing with, if you still have any inclination of getting it completed, make it happen. But you're the one that's going to have to do the work. Okay, and that's just the way that's going to work. Get all the guidance you can from everybody you can, but you're going to have to make the decision to get off your tail feathers and make it happen. Very much along the same lines of, I'm going to have to really get up and start pushing the idea of letting people know I'm here, getting my website up and running. Okay, these are all little projects I'm going to have to work on, as well as this issue of getting my left hand working properly. That's going to be the only person that can do anything about that is going to be me. Now, like I said, I will be on if you've got questions. Okay, whether it doesn't matter what the field. I've been working since I was 23 professionally, as in generating an income in the consulting field, working on personal issues, business, metaphysical issues, alien, and the really abnormal side of things. In all fairness, when we talk about cryptids, I don't deal a whole lot with cryptids. I've never done any research, so I know a little bit about them, but none of the information I work on is based on research. It is based on life experience. Now, I will be back again tomorrow, but until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.